Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are creating this date night sultry makeup look. So today we're going to be going a little bit darker on the eyes and the lips. This is a look that definitely looks good under low lighting, out to dinner or getting drinks, but can work even in the daytime as well. It's not too difficult to follow. If you just keep watching this video, you'll be able to achieve this date night look. Okay, to get started, we are going to be using the Pore-fessional primer. I was out of this primer and recently got a new one, and I was so excited. This is like my favorite primer to use. I feel like it just always makes my foundation go on really nicely, and it just has kind of that like silicone-y finish, so it at least makes me feel like it's really doing its job to control the oil and keep my makeup in place all day long. Okay, so now that this is on, I'm actually going to go in and work on the eyes and kind of let this set for a minute. So I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see what I'm doing with my eyes. Okay, to get started, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion, and I was always the one that said that I've always had allergic reactions to pretty much every eyeshadow primer I've ever tried, but this one I recently picked up and I've had absolutely no problems with it, so I was really, really happy to find one that finally doesn't seem to irritate my skin. I don't know if it's just that my skin has been changing or that this formula just is specifically gentle on the eyes, but this has been really nice to actually have something that really keeps your makeup in place all night or all day long. I'm then going with this shade from the Maybelline the Nudes palette and kind of just using that as a base color, and I'm using my Sigma E60 large shading brush to just kind of pat that color across the lid to kind of even more so act as a base and make sure that it's really a dry, clean canvas to work on. Okay, then I'm going to take my Sigma E55 eye shading brush and go into the third darkest gray shade in the Nudes palette and use that just on the lid. Okay, I'm then going to take my angled brush, the Sigma E70, and take the next lightest shade and kind of use that in my crease. And I've just actually cleaned my brushes. You should clean them as often as you need for how much makeup you wear. I try to do it at least every other week. Probably should even do them every week, and mine are actually still just a little bit damp, so just make sure you give them plenty of time to dry. Okay, so now that we've gotten that in our crease, we're going to go in with a E40 tapered blending brush and kind of just blend those two colors together. I am now going to go in with my NYX HS44 Bling, and again go in with that angled blending brush and start bringing that color up a little bit more on the brow bone. And you want to bring that basically from your crease almost all the way up to the eyebrow. And then again going back in with that tapered blending brush and kind of blending those colors in. Okay, now I'm going to take my Bare Minerals loose eyeshadow in the color Rockstar and take my E55 Sigma eyeshadow brush, and we're going to just very carefully put a little bit on the brush and pat that in just over the lid. See how much stronger the color shows up with an eyeshadow primer compared to when I've used these colors before with just a blank eye. Okay, and then obviously because this is a smoky eye, as we have with all the other colors, we want to then take it and blend it out. Now this one you want to be careful not to blend too much because it is such a dark and such a sparkly color, so it can kind of make the whole eye look like a mess if it's blended too much, but you don't want the lines to be so harsh that the eye look isn't smooth and smoky. Okay, and once you have that where you want it to be as far as blended and as dark or as light as you want, I usually go in with the Highbrow Glow Benefit highlighting stick and just go in right on underneath your eyebrow to highlight right there on the brow bone. Okay, so now that our eyeshadow is pretty much done, I'm going to be taking the IT Cosmetics No Tug Waterproof Gel Eyeliner and putting that just right along the lash line. Now because this is, a date night, smoky night, it doesn't need to be that precise, perfect line like sometimes when we use a liquid felt eyeliner. This one can be a little bit messier. So I'm just going to go in right on top of the line, on top of my lash line here, and start working that in. Okay, so once that's on there, I'm going to take my Sigma E65 small angle brush and just go in and kind of smudge that line a little bit just to soften it. Okay, and so now that, because again this is a smoky eye look, we're actually going to take a little bit of that color underneath the eye as well, then go back in with concealer. So I'm going to take the second lightest shade in the Maybelline, the Nudes, and just bring that about, probably about halfway underneath the eye. Let's take the Sigma E40 tapered blending brush and take that NYX Easy Rider Baked Shadow, and we're just going to put that in the inner corner to kind of brighten up our eyes. And then you can bring that a little bit, start blending that kind of into the beginning of your shadow, just again to brighten that up. And because we brought the darker shadow underneath, I'm also going to bring it a little bit underneath, kind of almost to meet it. Okay, so now that I've gotten my shadow and liner done, I'm going to wait to go back in and do my brows and mascara until after I do the rest of my face and setting powder so that I don't have too much powder on the brows or eyelashes. So I'm going to go in with the Makeup Forever HD foundation and just a flat foundation brush, and just going to pop that across the skin. Of course, we've already put primer on, and that's kind of been able to work itself into the skin. That Pore-fessional primer by Benefit, that again is pretty much one of my favorites. We're going to work this Makeup Forever across the face. It's probably a little bit too dark for me, so I'm actually going to maybe blend in a little bit of my L'Oreal Paris Infallible Pro Matte in 102, since this color is a little bit lighter. I'm going to work a little bit of that into the skin too, to just lighten this up a little bit. I'm just probably a hair too pale right now, just in between shades. So we're just going to lighten that up. And you really can do this with any makeup. You can, you know, grab two shades if you're in between, blend them together in your hand, on the back of your hand, and or even just on the skin, to make sure that you're not going in with a color that's too dark. Okay. Okay, and make sure you bring that color a little bit down onto your neck, especially if it is a shade or two off. You definitely want to make sure that is blended, and even a little bit on your ears here. All right, and now to move on to highlighting, I'm going to use the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. I think I'm almost out of this. I have the shade Neutral Medium. Pop a little bit of that under the eyes. Now, obviously, because I put some shadow underneath, I'm not going to go too close to the shadow at first. Kind of start working that in the V motion that we usually have here. And because this product is so thick, I'm probably actually going to take a little bit that I have on my brush and use it in my other highlighting areas too, as I start working this in. So I'm going to put a little bit on right in the center of my forehead, down the center of my nose, around my nostrils there where I get a little bit of redness, on the Cupid's bow, and on the chin. And we'll start working all those in. Okay, so I have put just a little bit too much of the Bye Bye Under Eye on, so I'm actually going to take a damp beauty blender and blend the rest of that in. Okay, so I'm just going to take my damp beauty blender and blend the rest of that in. Like I said, I used a little bit too much product, and that's what the beauty blender is great for, kind of absorbing that extra product. Okay. Now that I have highlighted, we are going to go in and contour. I have the one that I've been using for a while now, Maybelline Fit Me Shine Free Balanced Foundation in the color Coconut. And I'm going to just put that underneath my cheekbones first, along the hairline, on either side of the center of the nose, and just a little bit on the jawline. And then I'm going to be taking just a small contour blending brush to blend that contour in. Except for that, my contour brush is completely wet. And just taking the fingers to do along the sides of my nose. And then you can use the contour brush a little bit if you need it at the end. Alright, so once we have that contour blended to the point that we want it, I'm then going to go in with just a little bit of cream blush. Usually I use a pretty decent amount and just very, very lightly dust my blush on top, but since I'm going for a little bit of a dewier look, I'm going to just put a little bit of that in right now and not really go in with much blush at all afterwards, unless it really doesn't look strong enough. And this is the Seraphine Botanicals Guava Butter Cream Blush in Pure Guava. So So now that we've gotten all of our cream products on our face, we're going to go in with the Laura Mercier setting powder. I'm going to first set under my eyes, and I'm just going to make sure that my under eyes are still crease free with that beauty blender, and then go in with that Laura Mercier setting powder. Now, if you'll remember in my New Year's Eve video, my boyfriend and I are trying to just eat a little bit healthier and work out a little bit more. So we have been getting to the gym a pretty good amount and just trying to, you know, make sure we're doing strength training with weights as well as some cardio and things. And there's just so many great athletic trainers online that have like YouTube channels and things that we've even been using for some tips on some advice for some workouts. Okay, so now that I've set just my under eye area with the setting powder, I'm just going to go in and put a little bit across the rest of the skin. And just be sure to push that product into the skin. If you kind of just dust on top, unfortunately, especially if you've oily skin like myself, it won't really do too much, so make sure you're kind of pushing that in. And our little kitten is so quiet today. After I showed her in my last video, she's not even been meowing at all. She must be so sleepy today. Okay, so now that I have got that on, I'm going to just go in with a little bit with a powder bronzer as for a little bit of contour, the NYX Color Wheel Mosaic Face Powder, and just put a little bit of that up over where I contour, just on the hairline and a little bit on underneath the cheekbones. But I have a little bit of leftover of that powder on my brush. I'm just going to put a little bit on my neck just to make sure that it's dark enough and the colors are blended. Okay, and I think I am going to do just a little bit of a blush because I really like the City Color B Matte Blush, the lightest shade, which I believe is, believe that this one is Fresh Melon, and I'm going to just pop a little bit of that on with a angled blush brush. It's really quite a summery color, but it's just so peachy and pinky, and I really love it. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of that on. And then I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Cosmetics Illuminating Palette. I wasn't sure at first if I really liked this palette because it didn't seem like the colors were as strong, but I've been using the pink and the lighter shades a lot, as you can see. I sometimes go in with a little bit of the pink just right on the top at first, and it kind of blends in with the blush, and then if I want a little bit of a stronger highlight, I'll go in with the lighter one. So I'm just going to take the pink one on my cheekbones. I'm going to use my tapered blending brush, clean that off, and go back into the lighter white shade, and just put a little bit of that down the bridge of my nose and on the places that I highlighted. It's shimmery, but it's really not over the top. It's there. I kind of prefer the more of the white and the pink kind of shimmery highlighters compared to some of the gold ones. So now that we have that, we are just going to pop on some tinted brow gel. I've, as you guys have known from pretty much all my videos, the Gimme Brow in number 3. And if you remember one of my past videos when I got my brows done at the Benefit Bar, I felt like they've been really keeping their shape pretty nicely, and they're pretty quick and easy to do. I don't feel like I have to, you know, brush through them as much or use a powder or even a pencil on them now. I can pretty much just use the tinted brow gel, and that seems to be enough. Okay, and for lashes, we're using today Maybelline Falsies Volume Express. These ones aren't necessarily like the thickest mascara, so if you're looking for really full, thick lashes, but it's definitely lengthening. So these make your lashes look so long, especially if you put a couple coats on, you can definitely see it. Okay, and actually because I have such a dark smoky eye, I'm kind of feeling like the eyelashes aren't popping that much, so I'm going to do what I've done for a lot of my mascara looks and just go back in with a little bit of Better Than Sex Too Faced waterproof mascara, just to kind of make them a little thicker. Like definitely the Colossal made them really long, but I just want them a little bit more of a thicker fringe look. Okay, so now that I've gotten that on, lastly, we're just going to go in and put something on our lips. If you follow me on Instagram, you know this Liquid Velvet by Ciati London liquid lipstick has been my favorite in the color Pinup. I think I've used it in one of my past videos. It's a little dark, but it is so pretty and stays on legitimately all day. Okay, so once you get them symmetrical, lastly, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of Urban Decay De-Slick Makeup Setting Spray to set the entire look. So just spray that across the face. And once that dries and sets, you are all done. If you want a little bit more of a dewy finish, you can leave the makeup just like this. And if you want a little bit more of a matte look after your setting spray dries, you can go in with a little bit of Makeup Forever HD press powder or any sort of a press powder to just set a little bit more of a matte look. But this is the completed date night look. No matter if you're headed out to the bar or dinner, this is definitely more of an evening look, but this is really something you can do to show off your eyes and lips and kind of have a sexier look. So please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video.